In the past 2 weeks, we've had two high-profile officer-involved shootings just days apart. So what's the deal? Are our gun laws not effective enough? Even last year, New York Governor Kathy Hochul accused us of having laxed gun laws following a shooting involving a Las Vegas resident in New York. So we're revisiting a conversation David Figler had with Assemblymember Sandra Haddagy to dig into how well or not our red flag laws have worked since they were implemented in 2020. It's Tuesday, August 18th. I'm Jesse Merrick, and here's what Las Vegas is talking about.
Assemblymember Haddagy, gun control has long been a hot topic of debate in our country. So what do the so-called red flag laws that you've championed in the Nevada legislature bring that's new or different to the table?
I don't think they're new. In Nevada, we call them high-risk protection orders. And high-risk protection orders were part of a larger comprehensive gun violence prevention package that I passed in 2019. Assembly Bill 291 banned bump stocks, which was the technology used in the horrific, October 1 Route 91 mass shooting here in Las Vegas. But we didn't want to stop there. I didn't want to stop there. I wanted to make sure that we were passing gun violence prevention laws that would actually make a difference in keeping our communities safe. And so the policies that we packaged together were banning bump stock technology, which I'm so happy that we did, because there was regulations on a federal level that banned them, and everyone was telling me, we don't need this state law. There's federal regulations. And lo and behold, those federal regulations were scaled back. And now Nevada is one of the few states who has a ban on bump stocks. We also implemented child safe storage laws that in that bill. We reduced the blood alcohol content that you could have while in possession of a firearm because it exceeded that of a DUI. And we also implemented high risk protection orders. And high risk protection orders work in two different ways. You can file for a temporary or an extended. A temporary removes firearms from a house for 7 days. An extended high-risk protection order can remove firearms from a house for up to a year. And law enforcement officers can apply for a high-risk protection order. Family members could apply for one, or household members.
Okay, so they could file these petitions essentially somewhere in the courts, I'd imagine, or elsewhere, get these type of protective orders. And then that person would have a much more difficult time, if not an impossible time, trying to get a hold of a new firearm or be in possession of one if they're stopped. Is that a good summary?
Correct. They can go and file them with the courts. They show the application, then it's either granted or not granted. And again, law enforcement can go back if a petition is granted and then remove any firearms from the household. And unfortunately, we've just, the high-risk protection orders became effective January 1st, 2020. And we just haven't seen them as widely used as I would have liked here in Nevada. In other states, they're so popular. And I think about maybe just needing to do more education. So that's something that I'm working on over the next year, doing more education on what high risk protection orders are, because I'm assuming people just don't know they exist. And when they hear high risk protection order, if you are just a family member, you do not know that that means, a removal of firearms from the household.
So this high-risk behavior protective order is basically a subset of the bigger, broader red flag laws. Got it. I think people are far more aware of restraining orders or protective orders, but this is definitely a very specialty pinpoint type of a protective order. I'm looking up some stats here. It says in 2024, there were just 27 orders that wound up getting filed. So that does seem like it's a relatively small number. I'd imagine who would be otherwise eligible for that type of restraining.
And the reality is that's one of the years with the highest numbers of high-risk protection orders applied for in Nevada. So there's varying numbers. So if you go and search, I know that the Nevada Independent had reported 27 to 28, but I had just been in contact with the Attorney General's office, and the Attorney General's chief of staff sent me some numbers over. And in 2024, they had showed only 22 high-risk protection orders, and that's a huge jump. So, but what gives me hope is that I think we just need to run a robust education campaign, and that will increase the numbers because in 2022, Attorney General Ford came to the Interim Finance Committee and asked for a $400,000 grant from ARPA dollars to create this high risk protection order education campaign. So if you look at the numbers in 2020, according to the Attorney General's office, there was 4 orders issued. In 2021, there was 4 orders issued. In 2022, 8. In 23, 15, and in 24, 22. So he received money in 22 and then started conducting trainings. And the trainings they're doing is to actual law enforcement agencies. I believe from the conversation we had last week, they have one more training left and then they're out of money. But we see an uptick. Once the training started, the number of protection orders that were issued increased. And so I'm hopeful that if we can continue doing these education campaigns to law enforcement and then also to constituency groups, like to members of the public, like let's go work with our domestic violence coalition groups, let's go work with other groups to make sure that we're getting the word out, maybe the Nevada Children's Advocacy Alliance, because for me, when I first introduced high risk protection orders, I was like, hey, firearms are the number one cause of death for children in Nevada and across the country, to be honest, but in Nevada, and the majority of that is by suicide. So hey, this is a good way to get the word out there about, can we save some lives? And so I want to create robust education over the next year on these.
Yeah, I appreciate that it's more people that are filing what they feel to be a very important measure to save lives, but it does seem to be a modest increase, even with all that education to law enforcement.
I mean, to go from 4 protection orders issued in 1 year to over 20, I think it's a pretty big jump, and I'm hoping that it continues to grow. But I think we need to continue to do education. That was with money, that the Attorney General had requested a grant, and I'm grateful that he did, because had he not taken the initiative to even bring education, we might be living in a world where we're still issuing only 4, right? But the good news is I had a Zoom with Johns Hopkins University. They actually have an extreme risk protection order resource center, and I'm going to be connecting them with the Attorney General's office because they actually come out to states and do trainings for free. So we're definitely going to get good bang for your buck there. Free is the right free is
always the right price tag. Yeah, no, I get that. So let's go to the big question. Do they work, and how do we know?
Well, I think that all gun violence prevention laws work, in conglomeration together. High risk protection orders alone aren't going to stop every crime with a firearm. But here in Nevada, we implemented high risk protection orders and then also banned ghost guns, which was a workaround for high risk protection orders, right? So if a prohibited person could not walk into a gun dealer and buy a firearm, they could then go online and order a ghost gun kit, which is an unserialized frame or receiver. It's a kit that you can build at your table in 30 minutes, and now you have a fully functioning firearm, right?
Yeah.
So those two, so if you can't buy a gun, you go and you buy a ghost gun kit, now you build a firearm, and now you have a gun, right? So no law is going to work 100%, but it doesn't mean we stop trying. Every year we are chipping away at the problem, and our laws together are going to make our community safer.
Now, you've undoubtedly heard the old pushback that if you do continue to make these laws restricting access to guns, that only criminals are going to be getting the guns because they never followed the rules. So you're just kind of wasting time, and you're probably keeping guns out of good law-abiding citizens' hands who maybe are overreacting. I don't know. But I have heard that pushback, and I'm sure you have too, including, shades of the Second Amendment. How do you respond to those?
No, law-abiding citizens can walk into any dealer or any private seller, enter a contract with any private seller and purchase a firearm. There is nothing prohibiting anybody from purchasing a firearm. They can easily walk into a dealer, buy it from a private seller, right? All they have to do is pass a background check. We have not in any way restricted access to the Second Amendment. I am a firm believer that we can do this. We can, pass policies that protect the Second Amendment and protect second graders. Like, we can do this.
The following is a paid political advertisement paid for by the committee to elect Alex Quag.
Hi, CityCast listeners. I'm Alex Quag, and I'm running for Clark County District Court Judge, Department 29. Southern Nevada is my home. I graduated from El Dorado High School and UNLV. From my first job to now raising my family, this community has shaped who I am. That's why public service is personal to me. I've spent my career serving on all sides of our justice system, representing service members in the Army, working as a prosecutor, and seeing how courtroom decisions ripple through people's lives and through our community. That's a responsibility I never take lightly. Clark County deserves judges who bring experience, dignity, and respect to every person who enters the courtroom. I'm proud to have earned the support of prosecutors, defense attorneys, law enforcement, labor unions, veterans organizations, and many others across our community. From JAG to judge, I'd be honored to earn your vote. I'm Alex Quag, running for Clark County District Court, Department 29. Learn more at electalexquag.com.
Paid for by the committee to elect Alex Quag. CityCast does not endorse candidates for office.
Coming home from a hospital stay or surgery is supposed to feel like relief, but the first few weeks alone can be scary. A little extra help at home can make all the difference in a smooth recovery. That's where Touching Hearts at Home comes in. Touching Hearts at Home is a locally owned home care agency right here in the Las Vegas Valley. For them, care is both a promise and a practice, with caregivers who are trained, background checked, and thoughtfully matched to each family. Caregivers help with daily things like bathing, meals, light housekeeping, transportation, and companionship. Touching Hearts at Home offers flexible scheduling from a few hours a week to full-time support serving seniors, people living with medical conditions or disabilities, those in transition from hospital to home, and anyone over the age of 18 who can benefit from the help of a professional caregiver. Give them a call at 702-514-0908. That's 702-514-0908, or visit their website at touchinghearts.com/Henderson to set up a free consultation, and they'll walk you through what support could look like for your family. Mention CityCast for 15% off your first month of service.
Do you think personally that there are people out there who should never own a gun, ever?
I think we have laws that say if you have been convicted of a felon, right, or if you are a danger to yourself or to others, then you are restricted from purchasing a firearm. And that's what we're trying to do. I am not trying to restrict it. And I am not here to say that, like, hey, nobody should own firearms. No, we're here to balance the policies that we pass, to make sure that the policies that we're passing are keeping our community safe while still protecting the Second Amendment.
Yeah, I guess just to wrap that one up with a little bit of a bow, the argument is, well, what you're not doing with any of the laws that you're creating is stopping, people who are on the street with a bunch of unregistered guns in the back of their trunk, selling them to people who are going to use those to rob people or hurt people. So what is really the point?
Yeah, but laws 100% of the time don't stop all criminals, right? We have DUI laws, we have seatbelt laws, and we still have people who drive without seatbelts or drive while under the influence. We can't expect every law to work 100%, but what we do expect the laws to do is to be effective in making our communities safer.
It wasn't terribly long ago, and I know you saw the news, we all did, the very high-profile shooting in Manhattan by a Las Vegas man with an alleged mental health challenged history. It was fairly documented now. Some of the news reports have come out that this person had been in the system. In other words, it wasn't someone who wasn't known to at least mental health professionals. Now, New York governor raised issues over whether Nevada's gun laws are strict enough or even being enforced properly. So, in response to her criticism of our state, did Nevada mess up?
Well, I do know that we have high risk protection orders, right? And my point to education, does Shane's family know about high risk protection orders? Had they been educated on them, could they have called and had a high risk protection order filed, maybe not even a temporary one, but an extended protection order? And I don't know how. I know that from what her conversations I've had, I've been told that there had been 2 incidences where law enforcement interacted with Shane and had legal 2000 him. And so,
which is the involuntary commitment for our listeners who
yes.
don't know, that they felt that there was enough of a basis to literally take him off the street and put him into a mental facility for some manner of observation for the 72 hours.
Correct. And I don't know when those encounters with law enforcement happened, if they were a year from the New York shooting or less than a year from the New York shooting. I don't know those details. But what I do know is that Shane is someone because he had those legal 2000s, maybe would have been a candidate for for a high risk protection order. So we need to get information out to these. Did those law enforcement officers know about high risk protection orders? Did the parents, did his family, because it was his mom who called law enforcement, right? Did the family know about it? Because there's so many eligible individuals, people living in the home who could have filed that order, but didn't. And I don't know where the blame lies or if there is any blame to be had. Maybe it's just more education. And so as the author of that bill, I want to make sure that it's impactful and that it's being used and that we are filing these orders to prevent future tragedies. And so I'm committed to making sure that we're getting the education out to everyone, to law enforcement, to members of the public, to medical health professionals, to, the judiciary, to attorneys, anyone who can help as a conduit.
I fully appreciate the education aspect of it, but, like with anything, it can be complicated. And sometimes people just rather not do anything than do something that's hard. I wonder, you're the proponent of education about these kind of red flaggy laws or for these, protective orders for sure. What do you think would be Sorry.
I don't want to say, hey, I think you used the word that, things are hard and people don't want to do hard things, but I don't think it's hard because you have states like Florida where these have been used thousands of times, right? Thousands. I think the last time I had checked, I think it had been like over 15,000, but they're not that hard. Like people use them and actually, I just did a quick search and it looks like Florida has used them over 20,000 times. They've issued, and that's because there's huge law enforcement buy-in. So I think educating law enforcement about how easy these can be, right?
The following is a paid political advertisement paid for by the committee to elect Alex Quag.
Hi, CityCast listeners. I'm Alex Quag, and I'm running for Clark County District Court Judge, Department 29. Southern Nevada is my home. I graduated from El Dorado High School and UNLV. From my first job to now raising my family, this community has shaped who I am. That's why public service is personal to me. I've spent my career serving on all sides of our justice system, representing service members in the Army, working as a prosecutor, and seeing how courtroom decisions ripple through people's lives and through our community. That's a responsibility I never take lightly. Clark County deserves judges who bring experience, dignity, and respect to every person who enters the courtroom. I'm proud to have earned the support of prosecutors, defense attorneys, law enforcement, labor unions, veterans organizations, and many others across our community. From JAG to judge, I'd be honored to earn your vote. I'm Alex Quag, running for Clark County District Court, Department 29. Learn more at electalexquag.com.
Paid for by the committee to elect Alex Quag. CityCast does not endorse candidates for office.
Coming home from a hospital stay or surgery is supposed to feel like relief, but the first few weeks alone can be scary. A little extra help at home can make all the difference in a smooth recovery. That's where Touching Hearts at Home comes in. Touching Hearts at Home is a locally owned home care agency right here in the Las Vegas Valley. For them, care is both a promise and a practice, with caregivers who are trained, background checked, and thoughtfully matched to each family. Caregivers help with daily things like bathing, meals, light housekeeping, transportation, and companionship. Touching Hearts at Home offers flexible scheduling from a few hours a week to full-time support serving seniors, people living with medical conditions or disabilities, those in transition from hospital to home, and anyone over the age of 18 who can benefit from the help of a professional caregiver. Give them a call at 702-514-0908. That's 702-514-0908, or visit their website at touchinghearts.com/Henderson to set up a free consultation, and they'll walk you through what support could look like for your family. Mention CityCast for 15% off your first month of service.
I know a lot of what you've proposed stems from your very personal experience being present at the horrifying Route 91 Harvest Festival, which sadly has the distinction of being the largest mass shooting in modern history. Did 1 October change the conversation on guns in Nevada, do you think?
I think Route 91, the 1 October tragedy was a tragedy that impacted our entire community, not just the people who were there. You felt it throughout the state. You saw it in the number of people who turned out to help, to donate blood, to do everything they could to help the community heal. And so I think a lot of things happened that allowed us to pass the comprehensive gun violence prevention package and universal background checks in 2019. To be completely honest with you, I think having Governor Sisolak in the executive branch and signing the policy was what made that happen. Having me there to champion the issue and share my personal story helped. Would we have done as much if I hadn't been there? I don't know. I know that other legislators had talked about banning bump stocks, but I wanted to do more because I never wanted a family to have to go through what I went through. So I came up with a package that was, the blood alcohol content, high risk protection orders. We ended up incorporating child safe storage laws, and then we banned bump stocks. And at one point, I also had preemption in there. We ended up having to take that out in order to move the policy.
What's
But
preemption in this
I'll
context?
get to that right now because it's very important. But I passed that policy because we had a Democratic Assembly, a Democratic Senate, and a Democratic executive branch. Had there been a different governor, I don't know if we would have signed that because the last two sessions we've had a Republican governor, and I haven't been able to get one gun violence prevention bill signed. But preemption. So unfortunately, 1 October happened on 1 October 2017. The state of Nevada or our community wasn't able to do a single thing to keep our community safe. We could not take action until the first day of the legislative session, which is the first Monday in February of the year we go into session, which happened to be 2019. So we had to wait over 1 year and 2.5 months before we could even talk about laws that would keep our community safe, because in 2015, when Republicans controlled the executive branch, the Senate, and the Assembly, they passed a law called preemption, which preempted any local government from regulating firearms. They said that the state was the sole regulator of firearms. And when that bill was signed and passed, every single city and every single county in Nevada had to destroy every single law relating to firearms. And so think about it. After 1 October happened, the city, that happened in Clark County. Clark County couldn't take any steps whatsoever to keep their community safe because of what had happened during the 2015 session under Republican control. And I believe that cities and counties, because they are closer to the constituency that they represent than the state legislature, they should be able to enact laws that are stricter than the floor. Use the state as the floor, use the state law as the floor. But if they want to pass ordinances that make their community safer by passing gun violence prevention
that are
ordinances, then
potentially more restrictive to keep guns out of people's hands who
anything that would apply, right? They're closer. They still have to answer to voters just like we do, right? But they should be able to take steps that keeps their community safe, because what Clark County might need for gun violence prevention because of our population might be very different than what Esmeralda County needs because of population, or what Washoe County needs, or what any other, Lyon County needs, or Nye County.
What practical advice? I mean, what do you want our listeners to know about how to make the red flags work for them?
I think, familiarize yourself with, the high risk protection orders or extreme risk protection orders or red flag laws, right? We have to let people know that they're out there. If the process feels too daunting, contact law enforcement, right, for help. But you petition the district court. You can find the applications online, but I don't necessarily want to say, what can we do to make them easier? Because right now we can't do anything. Our hands are locked because we just wrapped up our legislative session this year, and we will not be able to go back to fix, if we need to fix anything, if we want to change them to make them, easier for law enforcement officers, until 2027. So think about that. We cannot make any changes to our high risk protection order laws until February 2027, when we can start the discussion on them. So in the meantime, I think we need to talk about it, right? We need to talk about that there are high risk protection orders that you can apply to your district court, that you can have firearms temporarily removed for 7 days. It's not a forever, it's for 7 days, or you can have them removed for up to 1 year. And also, if you do know someone maybe that isn't a household member of yours, that maybe you can't file a high-risk protection order because you don't live there, you can talk to them about the other law that we passed, the voluntary self-surrender. Talk to that person and say, hey, if you are experiencing a crisis, you yourself can go and self-surrender your firearms for any time period, to any law enforcement agency or any gun dealer with no questions asked. So
Yeah.
I think getting the word out there about the laws that exist is a great start. So thank you, David, for having this discussion, because I think it's really important that we talk to people and that people know that these laws exist.
In your heart of hearts, and I know a lot of different motivators come to you, do you think that if some of these common sense laws, as you described them, and some of the laws that you've passed since 1 October were in effect, what we know about the shooter there, that this might have either prevented the tragedy or done something?
I don't know. And there's no way to ever know, David, right? Anything that we say is just a guess because we don't know. But what I care most about is that even if we prevent one death going forward, that is enough.
Well, last thing, you're not going to be the advocate in the legislature for these type of, laws and red flag laws, et cetera, because you have announced that you're not returning to the Nevada legislature. So what is next for you?
So I am elected until November 2026. So my work here isn't done. I have until November 2026 to make sure that I'm doing as much as I can around high risk protection orders. I want my legacy to be that when I left the assembly, when I left the Nevada state legislature, I did everything I can to make our community safer. The work around gun violence prevention to me has been one of the most meaningful and personal things I have done.
Is it safe to say that you're still going to be involved in gun violence prevention no matter what you end up doing?
Always, always.
I appreciate it. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us today here on CityCast Las Vegas.
And thank you for having me.
That's all for today here on CityCast Las Vegas. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend? Rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our free morning newsletter as well. And hey, don't forget, you can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Las Vegas neighbor at membership.citycast.fm/Las Vegas. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Until then, though, take care.